So, how did one care home get positive press coverage every 2 months for the last 7 years and continues to do so? And above and beyond is a requires improvement care home. It's now a good, but for most of those 7 years, it was a requires improvement care home. And yet, every 2 months for the last 7 years, they were getting positive press coverage. And what's more, this particular care home didn't particularly want to get television coverage. And I know 100% they have many, many stories that would have got positive regional television coverage. So how did they do it? Well, probably two main aspects. Firstly is storytelling. To be honest, we were helping them with this, but they had a great capacity to celebrate and share the great stories within their care home. And once you get into the swing of finding these stories and being happy and prepared to tell your stories as a care home or as a care provider, that's really where the magic comes in, because care homes are very, very different to organizations or businesses within your local areas because a number of reasons. You are looking after our nation's elderly, and there's a huge healthcare interest, in particular around dementia. You have often amazing stories to tell about your residents and what you've done for them. We know that care homes have many things going on within the environments of care home, and this particular care home, which is in Staffordshire, was in many respects like the tens of thousands of care homes there are around the country, and which I'm sure includes you, that are just doing what they do. But being able to tell those stories, being able to find them, has been vital for this particular care home to get positive press coverage every 2 months for the last 7 years. And that has included a whole variety of stories, everything from the history of the home, history of the building, which is quite a attractive historical building, which was in its favour, but it also the stories about the managers, about the staff, about resident stories, about personalised care, about the activities that they did. I remember one particular story was about having people in to pimp my Zimmer, was the phrase, how he pitched it to the press, and with great photographs, this kind of story that really flies. So it's always about storytelling, telling the great stories about your care homes, of which I know if I stepped in to any one of your care homes right now, or any of my team, we'd find two or three stories off the cuff that would get press coverage and would start to raise the profile and reputation of your homes. And if you want to raise the profile because you perhaps want to get more inquiries, then this is one vital strategy, is this ongoing press coverage, is this PR. So storytelling is key and has been key to this particular care home. And I do repeat, there are so many stories coming out from your care homes on a ongoing basis, which I know for you yourselves, who particularly those who are in the coalface, so to speak, caring, might not consider them to be powerful stories. But the truth of the matter is that they are, and I've said this many times, journalists love good care home stories, which is massively in your favor. So storytelling, the willingness to tell your stories and to celebrate and showcase the stories, of human interest stories within your care homes, is particularly important. So that's the first aspect that I say has enabled this particular care home to continue to get ongoing positive press coverage. And it is doing it, just to be clear about why it wants to do this, to make it effectively become the most well-known care home within its particular area of Staffordshire, is ultimately it wants to help have this strategy to get more inquiries in particular and attract self-funding families. So that's the reason underpinning everything that it is doing. And remember, it is requires improvements, has been requires improvements care home for much of that time. The second element is the importance of scheduling in and being proactive in finding those stories, because there is work involved. And the best way to do that work is to make it regular and ongoing. So not left to in an ad hoc, oh, let's see what we find when we find it, which may mean you might do something once a year or once every 2 years or not enough. Have it scheduled into your processes so that it's once every 2 months, once every 3 months, once every four, whatever you decide to do, you are going to tell a story about your care home and you are going to be pitching that to the press. So again, it requires two elements. It requires being proactive. It requires scheduling in that process into the day-to-day workings of your care home. And, obviously we do it ourselves, but it could be a manager activities, a person who may be particularly enthused by the idea of writing stories and pitching to the press. But that is the second really strong reason that underpins how this particular care home was able just to get this ongoing press coverage. And I repeat, it was with 100% success rate of pitching and getting results in the local press. And what I mean by 100%, which means that every time you pitch that story, you are going to get at least one of your target media to cover the story that you are pitching. So it's a particularly, impressive success rate for this care home. Why? Storytelling and scheduling and being proactive. Those are the two main reasons. So I hope that's useful for you. Fire away with any questions wherever it is in comments. And please, if you like this video and you want to make sure you don't miss any others like it, make sure you subscribe wherever it is around here.